How's it going, guys? IW. Supra Stories Part 2. In this video, I wanted to tell the story about this 90 turbo manual that I saved from the junkyard. Supra Stories Part 1 was on that Supra right there. If you want to go watch that video, it's I posted it a couple weeks ago. That's the off-road Supra. But in today's video, we're going to be going over this Supra that I saved from being crushed at the junkyard. But yeah, this car is a full turbo manual. It's got the 7M GTE. I think it's locked up. I think we tried it whenever we first got it, but that doesn't really matter. It's got a lot of good parts on it and stuff. And whenever we do finally get around to parting it out, it'll still have a lot of good parts on it and stuff. But yeah, 7M GTE, complete. And then let's look at the interior real quick. It's a full 90, so it's got the airbag and it's got the shallower console. The console lid I had covered up. I don't know why this got moved, but I mean, it's not like the console is in that good a shape anyway. It's got a climate control in it still. It's still got the R154, thankfully. Pedals and the window switches and pretty much the full interior is still here and everything. It's still in great shape, to be honest with you. Other than the dash cracked. So this Supra it's kind of a funny story. I really like this story, and part of the reason why this car hasn't got parted out yet and probably won't get parted out for a long time is I really enjoy the story, and I like having the car around just to remind me of the story. So I live like 20 minutes away from my shop, and I was driving here one morning. This was in January of 2021, and I passed this thing on a trailer. And so I had a buddy that was wanting a Mark III at the time, and I was like, hey, did you get a Mark III? And I couldn't see the side, of course, or whatever. And I was like, hey, did you get a Mark III? And he was like, no. And like during that whole conversation and stuff, I spun around and was following this guy, and he pulled into the junkyard. Now I tried honking to get him to like pull over before he got to the junkyard scales, but he didn't stop. So then he was on the scales, and I ran up and I was like, hey, would you sell that? And he was like, how much would you give me for it? Scrap, I think, would have been, at the time, I think it would have been, it had probably been like a couple $100. It had been like $200-300 or something like that for the whole car. That's what they were going to give him. And so I was like, I'll give you $500. And then he paused for a little bit and he didn't say anything. And I was like getting nervous that he was like, this was all just a couple seconds, but I was nervous that I was going to lose the car, because after you go across the scales at the junkyard, you can't bring anything back out. And so I was like, if you do 700, I'll 700 delivered to my dad's. And he was like, okay, sure. So he brought it to my dad's on the trailer that he still had it on and dropped it off. And yeah, and then he was like, you should have got a hold of me yesterday, because he took another one. So with this car, there was a 87 turbo manual. This is a 90 turbo manual. And we were like, oh, that sucks. So we went to the junkyard, because we've taken, like, after we strip these cars and stuff, we take them to the junkyard. There's usually not much left. But so we went, and it was a white 87 stacked on a pile. Like, they weren't going to keep it. They weren't going to keep anything off of it or anything like that. So we went and talked to him and was like, hey, could you get that off the pile and let us get some parts off of it? And so we went, and I'll add some pictures here of the car, like, on the pile. It's crazy. And I'll add some pictures too of when this car got dropped off in January in the snow and everything. Yeah, we weren't going to miss the opportunity to get all those parts off that other car, all the money and parts, and help save other cars. I mean, yeah, part of why I do it's for the money, but it is nice to see these cars get saved, because like all these aren't getting saved. So it's nice that these parts go to save hundreds more, because I mean, one car goes to save 100 Supras or whatever. So it's nice to actually save some, and so that's why it's kind of exciting to find them in junkyards, because you make a little bit of money and then you save some other cars. But so we went and we got a whole bunch of parts. We got an R154, we got, I think, the 10-blade fan, I got the badge out of it, I got a bunch of trim, I think, the CPS, the coil pack, the igniter, I think the mirrors maybe. The mirrors might have been broken, I'm not sure, but we got a bunch of stuff off of it. You'll see in the pictures. He said these cars were his brother's cars, and I think he was driving the white one, and then maybe it blew up or something, and so he bought this one for the motor, and it was crashed. He bought it from like an auction or something like that, and it was already crashed. And so he was planning on taking this motor, but he just drove this car the way that it was, I guess, is what he said. And so when his brother passed away, he just left them set at his house, and then he finally ended up selling it, or, well, not selling it, ended up taking them to scrap, and that's whenever we found them and were able to save them from being totally destroyed. The other one, they wouldn't let us buy the whole car, but we at least got a bunch of good parts off of it. So yeah, that's the story on the Junkyard Supras that I saved when I was on my way to the shop one day. That was really awesome to find these cars, because, like, I mean, there was a lot of good parts. 2 R154s, 2 7M GTEs. We didn't get the whole motor, but we got a lot of parts off of it. But we were at least able to save this entire car, so that's really cool. Thanks to anyone that stuck around and watched the whole video. If you guys need any Mk3 Supra parts, please hit me up on Instagram. It'll be linked in the description, or my eBay will also be linked in the description. I'll probably have my dad's eBay linked in the description too. He's got some good parts on his eBay account as well. And yeah, if you need anything that you don't see on eBay, just hit me up on Instagram, and maybe I'll have it in a car still or whatever. I don't really have dashes. Like, dashes are so hard to find anymore. And if you need pre-89 door trims, I don't really have those anymore. I've sold pretty much all those. I took them off so they didn't get bad. But yeah, if you need anything, let me know. I might have it